Hello and welcome to Peninsula 24. This is Kim Hwan. On today's Peninsula 24, we'll discuss the outlook for the Korean Peninsula, including the recent missile launch and the sudden death of Kim Jong-nam. First, let's take a look at the short video report before we move on.
지상대 지상 중장거리 전략 단도탄 북극성 이용 시험 발사에서 완전 성공.
On February 12th, North Korea test-fired a new ballistic missile near Hamgyong-namdo province. North Korea said the test launch of its new missile type was a great success and has raised concerns over the North's development of nuclear weapons capability. And on February 13th, Kim Jong-un's half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, died in Malaysia's capital after being attacked by two females at the airport. Dynamics of the Korean Peninsula have faced growing uncertainties along with the continuing threats from the north. And on today's Peninsula 24, we take a deeper look at the recent missile launch, the death of Kim Jong-nam, and discuss the outlook for the Korean Peninsula.
For today's discussion, we are joined by Kim Chang-su, Senior Research Fellow at the Korea Institute for Defense Analyses.
Thank you for inviting me again. Thank you.
And Hwee-rhak, Dean of Graduate School of Politics and Leadership at Kookmin University.
Thanks for having me.
And Jung-yeop, Research Fellow at the Center for Foreign Policy and National Security at the Asan Institute for Policy Studies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kim, North Korea launched a previously unseen ballistic missile called the Polaris-2 or 북극성-2. It has been known as a new type of IRBM or intermediate-range ballistic missile. How is the Polaris-2 different from the existing IRBM?
Let me begin with some characteristics of IRBMs. IRBM stands for Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile, and many countries have actually developed IRBM so far, because this is just one step before the ICBMs. So like countries like, of course, starting with the United States, China, Soviet Union, and Israel, and, and Pakistan, India, and North Korea have developed this kind of IRBMs. And one thing, the big difference between the existing IRBM and this time, according to them, KCNA, the Central News Agency, if I quote, this is an upgraded, extended range version of the submarines they launched in August last year. And this is used, as you mentioned, this is used solid fuel rocket, and this has a tremendous sophistication because it's a very sophisticated technology, and it's becoming a very threat to many other countries. That's why many other countries have been developing IRBM just before reaching the stage of developing ICBMs at the final stage.
Okay. The missile was propelled by solid fuel engine, as Dr. Kim mentioned, instead of liquid fuel. What's the significance of such development from liquid fuel rocket engine into the solid fuel powered engine this time?
Most of the stability of launch or the reliability of launch would increase a lot. If you use the liquid fuel, you may lose some balance because of the fluidity of the fuel, and there could be some leaks or the cracks of the rockets. However, if you use the solid fuel, you don't have to worry that kind of problem much. So North Korea would kind of have confidence in the launch of the missile. The reliability of the confidence is very important when you want to kind of launch the nuclear warhead. If there's a failure, it could cause big damage to North Korea. So it is a significant step forward. It does not need that time to fuel into the engine of the rocket. So it would take about 5 or 10 minutes to launch if they are kind of trained much. So South Korea should kind of change the whole concept of kill chain if North Korea uses the solid fuel. And thirdly, I think that North Korea may have succeeded to level up the technology of its missiles. Usually, most countries use the liquid fuel first and move up to the solid fuel. It means that North Korea succeeded to level up its technology into the advanced level.
Okay. North Korea launched the Musudan missile 8 times last year, but only one test, which flew about 400 kilometers, has been considered as effective one. However, the missile North Korea launched this time flew about 500 kilometers before coming down in the sea, and it was relatively more stable than before. Do you think it shows a significant advance in North Korea's missile capability, including the engines?
So technically, they have advanced their techniques of missile development. North Korea has been notorious for the missile proliferation. They exported the Scud missiles and the smaller type of missiles before, but they are trying to develop much bigger one and which has much farther range. They need it because they need to lower the nuclear warhead on the missile, and those smaller missiles that North Korea has been very successful in terms of making and manufacturing is not big enough to carry the nuclear warhead, which is about 500 kilometers or sometimes 1 ton. So if you need the missile delivery system that can carry the warhead, which is very heavy, then you need the much bigger missiles with a much bigger boosting power. So North Korea is trying to show to the world that they not only have only nuclear warhead, but also the delivery method, which is bigger missiles, like Musudan, Nodong, like KN-08, and other systems. So they are trying to show to the world, and they try to show off that they have delivery system that's already been developed, then it can be credible threat to other worlds. Unless they can show the delivery system, successful delivery system, their threat was not as credible as they want. So they have been trying to show the development of their missile technology and their success of, maybe they want to show several more times to show that they have stable technology of bigger missiles. But I think this time it showed that they have gradually developed their technology of missile range and the payload.
Okay. Some people have mentioned that the possibility of the North has changed its existing missile development paradigm. What is your take on this?
I don't think they have changed this, the mechanism or the timetable in which they're going to develop these IRBMs and finally ICBMs, because the most typical IRBM produced by North Korea is Musudan, and they already back in 1910 they deployed Musudan IRBMs. But as we just mentioned, last year they test fired 8 times. That out of 8, just only 1 success. That's a terrible record. So that's why they have to improve their credibility of the Musudan ballistic missile IRBMs, because they have not really, impressed us in the West, including South Korea and the United States. That's why they have to improve the credibility of the IRBMs, not only the extension of the range, but also the lethality, the accuracy and everything. So this is a very highly complicated technology, and it'll take maybe many more years than we expected. Because I think North Korea was the one who really surprised by such long 7 or 6 different failure after failure. It was not South Korea or the United States who are really shocked by this kind of failures, because we anticipated this kind of technology is very difficult to get, and it takes a lot of time to develop highly advanced stages. If you look at all the cases like in China and Japan and Pakistan, it took many years, even though they developed much earlier all different types of missiles. That's why North Korea really want to, even though they mentioned ICBM, because there was a lot of mistake. They didn't say they're going to fire an ICBM in the first place. They say they are ready to fire. They're entering the final stage of the preparations for an ICBM. So this is a totally different meaning. But I think it was IRBM, a newly modified, much more advanced, a little bit advanced, with solid fuel rockets. One thing that I'd like to mention is the advantage of solid fuel rocket has over the liquid rocket is if you look at the North Korean terrain, it's very mountainous, and this is a firing on the road mobile IRBMs. It's not a missile like fired from a silo, typical silo. It's mobile, and it's run on the TEL transformer launch, erector and launch. It is very difficult. So it needs a lot of safety, security, but also accuracy. That's why they have failed so many times in the past. And this time they succeeded after a successful SLBM flight last year. So that's why they said this is a really big success for their technology, and that's why they are very much celebrating for this success this time.
All right, I see. Dr. Woo, the North conducted ILBM tests on February 12th this year. Indeed, the North had not shown any significant moves since its missile launch in October last year. Why do you think the North conducted a missile test, especially during the meeting between Trump and Abe? What do you think is the hidden intention behind the North's recent missile test?
It's very difficult to have a guess on what's in North Korean leadership's mind at this stage. If he's reasonable or he has any reason to show to the world that this kind of missile launch will help him in his power solidarity over North Korea's position in the world, then actually it eroded North Korea's reputation in the world. It gave all the reason to the world community that we have to put more pressures, more sanctions, so North Korea should give up their WMD and the missile development program. So if we see from our own perspective that it's not reasonable choice to make a move like this when two allies in Northeast Asia meet in the first time at the United States. So maybe what they really need is that they want to show to the United States and Japan, which is an ally and the security partner of South Korea, that North Korea is about to develop all the weapons that they need to weaken the deterrence posture of the US, Japan, and South Korea is trying to build. That means if US, Japan, and South Korea feels that our deterrence posture is not enough to deter North Korea from attacking first, to whether it's South Korea or Japan, or if even the United States with more developed ICBM techniques, then they believe that three countries have no choice but to be on the negotiation tables. It's more of long-term purpose that they are trying to show that the difference posture that three countries are trying to build is ultimately not enough to defend against North Korea.
Let me add one thing. There's a tendency in South Korea, Japan, also United States, that to relate the launch of or test fire of the North Korean missiles to some kind of events. It may have some kind of side effects. South Korea has many events, North Korea has many events, and US has many events, Japan has many events. If we intentionally try to relate the date of the test fire to the certain events, there could be something. But I don't think North Korea calculated this kind of thing. North Korea wanted to improve their kind of technology of missiles, and they want to have a kind of a strong missiles which could strike the United States. The intention of it is to say to the United States that if you support South Korea, we will attack your mainland. So instead of trying to relate the date of test fire to the certain events and try to draw some kind of intentions, we need to see the reality, which is the kind of gradual and a steady improvement of the missile technology.
Okay, I agree with Dr. Park because many people are just trying to, interrelate a certain specific event with a specific date in North Korean history. But I think this time, the most important thing, the driver behind all this is they're going to celebrate the birthday of Kim Jong-il. If they were alive, this would have been his 85th birthday. So just a couple of days before his birthday, they want to show the people with some pride that I'm this much capable, I'm this much able, and I'm a very filious son. That's what, this is the most important thing. So that's why they test fired these IRBMs. It has nothing to do with the Abe-Trump summit meeting in Florida. Maybe if you look back, it might have some interconnection, but the reason I don't think it's logical that we connected these two specific dates as one causing another. No, I don't think so.
Okay, I see. Then, Professor Park, if the North Korea goes its own way, how about the U.S. reaction?
I think that as long as North Korea proves that they can directly strike mainland of the United States, U.S. may not act with some kind of a strength. That means North Korea, U.S. will threaten to North Korea not to do this kind of act. But I think that U.S. may not have that kind of guts or wills to deal with North Korea right now. I think that U.S. will try to find some kind of a window of opportunity for a negotiation instead of preemptive strike or preventive strike, which we hope or we wish. I think that U.S., as you know, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is very kind of a practical one and business-oriented guy. I think they want some kind of rooms to negotiate with North Korea, I think, which is very kind of worrisome to South Korea.
I strongly demand to release the body to our side without any further delay. But they rejected, raising the issue which has nothing to do with the clarification of the cause of death.
One day after the North's missile launch, Kim Jong-un's half-brother Kim Jong-nam was killed at an airport in Malaysia, which has shocked the international community. From now on, I'd like to discuss more about the significance of the sudden death of Kim Jong-nam. Dr. Kim, first of all, who is Kim Jong-nam and why has he been pushed away from the succession race in Pyongyang?
Kim Jong-nam is the current leader, Kim Jong-un's half brother, and they have different mother, of course. And they were once Kim Jong-un was much younger. He was relatively older by maybe 15 or 16 years. So he was apparently heir apparent in North Korea because really he was really favored by Kim Il-sung first, and then Kim Jong-il also has a very special flavor about Kim Jong-nam. So that's why he was kind of rumored or speculated that he might be the future leader of North Korea someday. So that was about 6 or 7 years ago. And then all of a sudden, after Kim Jong-il passed away, Kim Jong-il actually named his another son, Kim Jong-un, as the leader, his successor. So that really changed all the pictures in North Korea. Now Kim Jong-un really wants to solidify his power base. Nobody should contest his power. And this is a typical case of brother killing brother in the history of all humankind. So there should be nobody other than himself that can challenge his power, present in the past, or present and future. That's why he has to remove his half brother. And there were kind of speculation because we have until the final, autopsy reports and investigative reports comes from the Malay police or Malay authority. But these are all kind of speculations, even conspiracies floating around, including that it was part of a kind of long-standing order from the great leader because he was the eyesore to him, and he was something that should be removed in sometime in the future. Even though he didn't specifically order his assassination this time, this order has been there in the place for the last 5 or 6 years. And finally, everything went perfectly all right. The timing was good. Probably the weather was good. And I don't think if you look at the face of Kim Jong-il at the party this time, everybody said he was kind of green-faced, stiff-faced, and he didn't look happy this time. Maybe this is a kind of revelation of his own, the mind. After all, because we all human beings, killing a half-brother is something you should not be so proud of, or you can sleep well without this kind of idea. So, because Kim Jong-un is also human, and he cannot hide his own truth, his heart, which is this is a very important, very terrible mistake, crime against his brother. Because we're living in the Asian society in which we really respect the family ties, and killing somebody, particularly your older brother, is something you should not. It has been taboo in our culture. So I think this is a speculation that he was actually insinuated somebody to kill him, just by using any means. But another one is, this is a new speculation coming out, that is, Kim Jong-nam used to have a lot of hush money from his father. And Kim Jong-un now is running short of his money because all the sanctions are imposed on him. So he's looking for a lot of source of money, that is getting the money from his older brother. So far there are many speculations, and these two are the most prominent cases that I can recall.
Okay. Dr. Woo, all eyes on the background of Kim Jong-nam's sudden death. The dominating opinion is that Kim Jong-un might ordered Kim Jong-nam killed. What is your take on this?
There are so many reports coming out these days on the death of Kim Jong-nam in Malaysia. And even the medias have said that there are so many unconfirmed stories coming out, either from Malaysian government or Malaysian media, or even other medias in Southeast Asia. So we have not confirmed yet whether the information that we are receiving now is correct or not. But as Dr. Kim just mentioned, that then who else wants to kill Kim Jong-nam if it's not North Korean regime or Kim Jong-un himself? So there's no other reason that we can think of reasonably that someone wants to kill Kim Jong-nam, and then what can do that kind of person get from the death of Kim Jong-nam? So only person or only entity that can benefit from the death of Kim Jong-nam is North Korean leadership, which is Kim Jong-un. So that's why we believe that even though it may take some time to prove that the death of Kim Jong-nam is linked to the North Korean regime, but we believe, many observers believe that the death of Kim Jong-nam is caused by the order of Kim Jong-un or someone below Kim Jong-un himself. So we have to think of that then what Kim Jong-un can get from the death of his half-brother. And why is this time? And our intelligence community report to our Congress that there has been order for last 5 years of killing Kim Jong-nam since Kim Jong-un took the power in North Korea. Then why is it now, right? So even those who are caught by the Malaysian law enforcement, they don't seem like professional killers like we saw in the movies. They are so naive, and they are even visited the airport again, and that's why they've been caught. So if they can kill the person with those kind of people a couple days ago, then why has been not in 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and why is in Malaysia? And someone said that it's visa-free to go to Malaysia, so that's why it's easy to kill Kim Jong. Then why it's not Macau or someone? If it's difficult to kill him in China, Beijing, because of the protection from the Beijing, then why Beijing is so loose on the protection of Kim Jong-nam this time, so he himself by himself walk in the airport and nobody took care of him. So observers believe that the behind of the death of Kim Jong-nam is almost 99% that it's North Korean regime. But then why this time, and what's the reason, and why? And it has been said that China has been protecting Kim Jong-nam. So then why the protection was so weak this time? So there are a lot of questions that we want to answer, but nothing has been clear yet.
China and Malaysia, I think that China should be very angry about this because Kim Jong-nam was protected by China. So the killing of Kim Jong-nam would be a kind of challenge to the sovereignty or the power of the China. But China is, I think, very silent. That means, we experienced a lot in the past, China may pretend not to kind of support Korea, but actually China may protect and condone the North Korea and North Korea's bad behavior. And thirdly, I think Malaysia. I think that, as Dr. Wu said, Malaysia should do everything to find the kind of clear reason and cause of the death and this whole kind of picture of the incident. But I heard that Malaysia contacted North Korea to deliver the corpse of the Kim Jong-nam. Means they want to kind of end this incident as soon as possible. That is not humane. If Malaysia supports the humanity and the humanitarian cause of our human society, I think that Malaysia should be very angry and they should find the kind of truth on this death and they should take some kind of retaliation if North Korea did this thing. So instead of kind of considering this as some kind of episode or small thing, I think that we need to learn some lessons and try to use it for the safety of our country and ourselves.
Right. We have to understand the reason why the North Korea did this. But at the same time, as Professor Park pointed out, we have to think of the lesson and how it affect to the North Korea and China relations that we can later discuss further. Dr. Kim, why do you think Kim Jong-un has ordered his half-brother assassination?
So far, with all the information we gathered, we believe, and it was approved, it was told by the director of the NIS that there has been a standing order from Kim Jong-un to kill his half-brother for the last 5 years. We don't know if there was any recent remaking of this kind of order from Kim Jong-un or not. But as it turned out, he must be involved in this kind of killing of his half-brother. Because if you talk to many North Korean defectors living in South Korea, they said they all agree it should be Kim Jong-un himself, nobody else. Even his close confidants cannot make that kind of order. Because Kim Jong-nam, after all, is the son of the Kim Jong-il, anyway. So it should be Kim Jong-un's order, I guess. But the timing, it was very, as it turned out, after fighting IRBM we mentioned, it was just one day after that kind of test launch, and it just drew a tremendous media attention, not only in South Korea but worldwide. So one of the things why this happened this time must be a lot of very complicated and very reasons, maybe including the safety of the airport in Malay, the Kuala Lumpur KIA, and also all the agents who follow him, but it was a perfect time for them to kill him because he was living somewhere in Macau and Malaysia for at least 6 days before his killing. So it all turned out that it was a perfect time for him to get killed by these assassins or the killers. But I think if it is true, because as I told you, the great leader or the supreme leader cannot allow anybody, even his elder brother, to contest his power base. He's the one. He is in the presence. He should really his presence on the throne. I'm the leader of the whole North Korean nation. So I think this first, of course, this is a remover of his future contestant, future rival of his power. And second one, I think it's just a speculation. The timing of the killing, it was a perfect or maybe coincidence. I don't think that's making sense because it just can't happen that way. Just one day after the test firing, another one is get killed in a remote country like Malaysia. I think this is something we just try to make a story out of these two maybe isolated cases. But it just turned out they are related. But one thing for sure, it should be Kim Jong-un who laid out this order to get him killed.
All right. But in fact, there's been various speculations on Kim Jong-nam's death. Some people even are saying that it might be because of excessive loyalty of Kim Jong-un's aides in Pyongyang, while others are saying that there might be another power behind his death, maybe a third country. Dr. Woo, if the assassination was not ordered by Kim Jong-un, what would be the reason to support that argument?
So that is why I mentioned that we have to rule out all the reasons that has low chance of possibilities. So if Dr. Kim just mentioned that, then is it easy for someone who's below Kim Jong-un can make an order that we should kill Kim Jong-nam for the sake of Kim Jong-un's power base? I think it's very, very difficult to confirm it because so then what kind of harm that Kim Jong-nam has been doing to North Korean regime? What has been doing is, from the North Korean point of view, what has been doing is much weaker than any other North Korean defectors and North Korean government officials who has defected recently and make a public announcement that Kim Jong-un regime is totally corrupt and totally incapable of feeding its own people. Then on the other side, what Kim Jong-nam, if we think of what Kim Jong-nam has been doing recently, that he's been famous for visiting Japan and kicked out because of the visa issues. And he said he wants to visit Disneyland. And he has some interview with a Japanese journalist. And if I am the staff of Kim Jong-un, then do I really think that I will get rewarded by the Kim Jong-un by killing Kim Jong-nam? I think it's very hard to sell if I have to make a guess on that. And then what about third-party countries? Then what third country can get benefit from killing another nationals from another country? Then if you get caught and they have been Vietnamese nationals, I don't know whether their passport is fake or not, but it's Vietnamese nationals and Indonesian nationals. And ultimately, if some other countries are caught as the criminals of this case, then what can they get? What can they get from North Korean regime? So I think if we rule out all these low chance possibilities, then the only reason that we can come up with is that the order should be coming out from Kim Jong-un himself. That is why many observers rule out these other reasons of killing of Kim Jong-nam.
All right. Professor Park, Kim Jong-nam was attacked at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. It might be difficult to believe that the North Korean agents killed Kim Jong-nam at the middle of the public place. Why do you think Kim Jong-nam was assassinated at the public place, which is easy to be exposed to the outside world?
In my view, I think that it was not easy for North Korean agents to assassinate Kim Jong-nam for about 5 years. So they tried to search for the perfect opportunity, and they finally thought that this may be the one they wanted to have. And secondly, I think that they conducted lots of research on how to assassinate Kim Jong-nam without leaving any kind of evidences for their behavior. So they came out with that kind of very effective poison, and they thought that asking somebody to kill instead of killing themselves would be better. So they made lots of kind of work and reached that kind of conclusion to conduct this kind of assassination. And thirdly, I would like to emphasize that North Korea may not care anything about international public opinion. We, I think, taught North Korea that you don't have to worry about the international public opinion. We sometimes kind of condemned North Korea, but we gradually decreased the kind of emphasis, and we kind of resumed the relations with North Korea. So from the viewpoint of North Korea may not have any reason to care about international society. So they thought this may be the perfect opportunity to kill Kim Jong-nam, and they did. And I think that they did it with very accuracy and some kind of very, what do you call, very prudent way. So, yes.
So the Pyongyang has made a huge effort to strengthen its hard power, but they never think of soft power in the international community. All right. Dr. Kim, let me ask one more question regarding the place of the assassination. Why do you think Kim Jong-nam was killed in Malaysia? I heard that a lot of North Korean elites visit Malaysia when they escape from their country. Is there any special reason?
You know, if you visit the Kuala Lumpur, particularly the Kuala Lumpur International Airport too, the security is not so tight. It's very freedom, and because they believe they are not worried about terrorists, Muslim terrorists, because of the Muslim countries. So it's relative to Singapore or South Korea, the security is not that tight. I noticed it because I visited twice there. And there is the Malaysia is a hub of non-aligned country, NAM, non-aligned movements, just like India and Malaysia has been very strong proponents of non-aligned movements in the whole world. That's why North Korea has maintained a very huge embassy and facility and personnel there. But it just happened that Kim Jong-nam stayed kind of reportedly maybe about 6 or 7 days before he was assassinated. And they just following very closely from many in China. But in China, there was a protection from the Chinese authorities, no question about that. But Malay, there was some, for unknown reasons so far, he was just caught by these kind of killers. And that's what they happened. But the location and the timing is kind of perfect in the eyes of the North Korean, the killers. But I think one of the reasons why they really want the return of the body of the Kim Jong-nam is because as long as the Malaysian police or investigative holds his body, there will be a lot of evidence or stories coming out from that autopsy or toxicology reports. That's why they were really trying to get his body back to Pyongyang as soon as possible. But it should take a time because this is a totally different country, Malaysia, in which the killing of the Kim Jong-nam was done. So it's very strange, but it just happened. But we have to wait maybe a couple of more months to finally until we come a really, very proven conclusion that this is the case and this is what happened in Malaysia in February this year.
I wish I could have answered all those questions that I am asking to myself. Because why Malaysia? Why airport? If they knew that Kim Jong-nam is going to show up in the Malaysian airport and they are prepared, and the reports have been saying that those assassins are preparing for killing Kim Jong-nam at the airport. They are preparing all those probes in the hotel nearby. So then why in the airport, right? Because before, they don't use like public space to kill someone who is not following North Korean regime. Like Kim Jong-il's nephew, who has defected and lived in Korea, was killed by, and which has not been solved yet, but he is killed by a pistol in his own apartment. So they don't use the public space. And our counsel to Russia, it has been said that the North Korean agents killed them with the poisons, but they don't use like public space to show to the message. So then why is it the airport? It's still very difficult answer, very difficult questions to answer. So maybe killing Kim Jong-nam has not been that easy for North Korean regime. So as Dr. Kim just mentioned that they have been trying to kill Kim Jong-nam, but it has not been easy. So maybe that might be the only option that they can go to and kill Kim Jong-nam. So maybe there are no other like plausible reasons that we can think of.
Let me add one. Sure. Is that about this incident, our international society should think of the humanitarian problem of the North Korea. They killed their people without kind of having any chance, giving any chance for the trial. I think you know about the responsibility to protect of international society. I think if Malaysia tried to shorten the investigation time and give these corpses to North Korea and try to kind of make it a small incident, I think that international society should demand Malaysia to do everything to find the real cause of this incident and to sometimes punish the one who should be responsible for that.
All right. Dr. Kim, there's been different sizes of opinions on the death of Kim Jong-nam. Some people are saying that it might reflect the unstable situation facing the North Korean regime, while others are saying that North Korea might want to show the solidarity of its regime. What are your thoughts on this?
My thought is this is actually, these two interpretations not contradict to each other. They are the two sides of one coin. That is, on the one hand, North Korea leaders show that we are this much stable. Nobody can challenge me. That's for sure. And to give us impression that this leadership will last many years to come, even eternally, as they call it. But on the other hand, there has been a sign which is not easily visible, but there are internally some people grumbling, and people are just looking for the chances to just free from this kind of tyranny. So there are many people who have no voice, but they remain quiet because they are concerned about their own lives. So this is to say, on the one hand, as I told you before, the killing has something to do with Kim Jong-nam's strength, but also his weakness, potential weakness that he might be accounted for this particular activity for his older brother. So depending on how you see it, because many people, we have a tendency to see only what we want to see. We only want to hear what we want to hear. So that's why we have all kinds of different speculations going around. This is all kind of conspiracy theories, that what is the reason behind this. But again, we have to be very cautious. And as Dr. Wu mentioned, that we have to sift through all these kind of possible scenarios to reach the most plausible scenario before the final report comes out.
Professor Park, we had seen various North Korean issues just before the birthday of Kim Jong-il, which is February 16th. How was the overall atmosphere within the North on the day of Kim Jong-il's birthday this time?
I heard that there was not kind of special events. And there was a fireworks to celebrate it, and I heard that Kim Jong-un was not in a happy face. He was a little kind of grim, so many people thought what could be the cause of his that kind of appearance. And I think that Kim Jong-un is in the course of solidifying his power, and he may not have the kind of strong kind of interest to celebrate the birthday of his father or his grandfather, because it also would kind of would be an expression of his weakness. So the birthday was not that special this time.
All right. Northeast Asia, including the Korean Peninsula, has faced the rising threats from the north. Lastly, please let me hear from all three of you the outlooks for the internal situation as well as the future moves of North Korea.
So with all the developments recently, that it is actually very difficult for the observers to make any guess on what is going on, even in a month or let alone the years. In South Korea, we are going to have probably the presidential election very soon. This case gives us to rethink of our security situation. So North Korean missile test and the killing of Kim Jong-nam gives us the questions that so far this security question has been set aside from this election debate. But I think this security question will become more and more important in our presidential election debate. And second, with the recent resignation of the General Flynn from the NSC of the Trump administration, I think Trump administration has its own problems to solve before it can commit to other countries' problem. And they just confirmed the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the State. There are so many positions below that should be filled in 3 or 5 months. So they are still in the process of reviewing all the policies that has been done by Obama administration. So we don't know yet that even though President Trump has mentioned that they are going to use strengths and they are going to approach very differently to North Korea, but it's not confirmed. There are so many positions below secretary level to be filled within next 3 or 5 months. So what will be our interest in terms of security? So there are discussions, even with the THAAD deployment, that there are discussions from the politicians these days that the decision should be deferred to the next government. And what they have been saying is that, we can solve diplomatically if the decision was deferred to the next government. So the problem that I saw in those dialogue is that they are not discussing why we need a THAAD in the first place. It's not about U.S. reaction or North Korea, China's reaction about THAAD deployment. The most important element of dialogue is why we need the THAAD deployment to the Korean Peninsula. So if we ask that question first, then we have to find the solutions to solve this diplomatic relations with China and other countries. So with all these uncertainties and with all these developments, the first thing that our government and our elite and politicians should do is to think of what is in our own interest when it comes to the security policies. So with all these missile tests and Kim Jong-nam's death gives us the timing that we have to rethink all these questions again.
All right. Yeah, I think that outlook of the security situation of Northwest Asia or the Korean Peninsula, I think is very grim and confusing and turmoil. I think that most of our North Korea will develop its nuclear weapons. I think that in this year they may demonstrate their capability to strike the Guam and possibly mainland United States. And that means that North Korea would commonize South Korea, alienating South Korea from its alliance with the United States. And South Korea, as you know, may not have that kind of capability or some kind of will to cope with this kind of external threat. We should be involved in the domestic issues, and all the people are trying to get the power, not international power, but the domestic power. So the political leaders may not care much about this national threat. And thirdly, China, as you know, China usually do not do anything. So they always try to make some kind of rhetorics, but they do not take any actions. The U.S., as you know, seemed to determined to take kind of very drastic military actions. But if we see the domestic situation of the United States, President Trump may not kind of afford to take this kind of military actions because he has to deal with the domestic issues first. So there is a bigger threat of the nuclear-armed North Korea. But the others are not ready to deal with this threat. So our kind of security outlook of South Korea or Northeast is very, very confusing, grim, and in a turmoil. And I'm very worried about that.
I basically concur with Dr. Wu and Professor Park, because given all the recent test firing of the IRBM and also the killing of Kim Jong-nam, and also the new leadership in Washington and probably the new leadership in South Korea, it will be very difficult to predict what our future will be. So given that North Korea will continue to develop its nuclear capabilities and also missile capabilities, and we are scheduled to have key reserve exercise next month. So all these very complicated issues come together and combine that we have to live with a much difficult time ahead, at least for this year.
All right. So after the IRBM launch and the Kim Jong-nam's sudden death, our panelists pointed out we have to clear our national interest especially in terms of military security issues, and also we have to know understand what are the threat we are facing from the north, and also we have to prepare for how we increase our defense capability with our security partners and allies in Northeast Asia. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your opinions today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.